Hello, everybody, and welcome. We want to thank you for caring enough about Beaumont to come to the City of Beaumont's press conference on the city's water situation. The health and safety of the community is our #1 concern, and to hear that people don't feel safe drinking the water is very upsetting. We're here to provide the community with an update with complete transparency and make sure the correct information gets to as many residents as possible. You'll hear from 4 different speakers today, city staff, administration, and our mayor, about the water situation in Beaumont. Each will talk about a different aspect of the issue. There will be time for media partners to ask questions at the end, so please hold any questions you have until then. We implore you to ask all questions during this time, as there will be no interviews following the press conference. And with that, I'll bring up our first speaker, Bart Bartkowiak, Director of Public Works.
Good morning. Our region of Texas is currently in an exceptional drought. This is the highest intensity assigned to drought by the Texas Water Development Board. August was the hottest and 3rd driest August for Texas since 2000. Unfortunately, it is likely we will remain in drought conditions for an extended period of time. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration website hosts a map that estimates rainfall necessary to end the drought. For our region, the estimate right now is just over 25 inches of rain over the next 3 months for us to be out of drought conditions. So the city of Beaumont is currently under stage 3 drought restrictions. I'd like to go through real quick and answer some of the most commonly asked questions about restrictions under the stage. Irrigation is limited to Sundays and Thursdays for addresses ending in an even number, and Saturdays and Wednesdays for addresses ending in an odd number. Citizens can water from midnight to 10 a.m. and also from 8 p.m. to midnight on their allowed days. The hour restrictions apply to all methods of watering. Under stage 3, no hose-in sprinklers are allowed at any time. Washing of cars is limited to the same days and hours as irrigation, except for commercial car washes. Use of water to fill or add to pools is only allowed during the same days and hours as irrigation. Operation of ponds or fountains for aesthetic purposes is prohibited, except when equipped with a recirculation system. So if you're not adding water into it. And this would be an example of our pond out here. It's just aerating the water, not adding more. Pressure washing buildings, driveways, sidewalks, etc. is prohibited with city water. One of the very noticeable aspects of the drought we're in have been the extremely high temperatures this summer. These temperatures contributed to increased levels of nitrification within the water distribution system, which then affected our ability to maintain disinfectant residuals. Nitrification is caused by bacteria within the distribution system that feeds on ammonia. When they increase, it causes a loss of disinfectant residuals. A temporary conversion to free chlorine is the only way to eliminate this nitrification by eliminating the ammonia in the water and starving it. The city of Beaumont converted to free chlorine for water treatment on August 22nd in order to address nitrification in the water distribution system. And we plan to end the free chlorine conversion this coming Tuesday, September 12th, and resume treatment with chloramines. Once we resume the chloramines, the free chlorine and the monochloramine blending in the water distribution system can cause taste and odor issues. Water crews will help speed the full conversion to chloramines throughout the system with selective flushing. If customers experience a musty taste or odor, please call 311 and we will address them by selectively flushing in the area. The flushing will be carefully monitored and limited so that we do not adversely impact system pressures. It is expected it will take 3 to 4 days and possibly up to a week to fully convert the distribution system over to chloramines. Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. Next up is Mike Harris, Director of Water and Sewer Operations.
Good morning. The leaks we are focused on right now are not being caused by, are now being caused by drought conditions, and are not specifically due to the infrastructure issues, although some of our pipes are more susceptible to leaks than others, given their age and their material. The combination of our gumbo clay and the older infrastructure with no rain creates perfect storm for water main breaks. We were running an average of about 50 to 60 leaks until August 14th, and we were keeping up with the demand in-house until the drought conditions officially went into effect August 14th, which is when our numbers really started escalating. From there, it's been a steadily increase in leak numbers. We did go out for an emergency contract bid on August 16th, and on August 18th, we noticed the award to Sept Construction here in Beaumont, and they began work on August 21st. We currently have placed another emergency contract out, and we'll be taking bids through Monday, September 11th for a second emergency contract. Since last week, we have been 100% focused on water leaks, and we've even moved and added in-house staff from other areas within the department and crews to help catch up with the water main breaks. Crews have been working 7 days a week, and this was including the holiday weekend since the issue started. They said, we're happy to report that as of this week, September 5th, was the first day we were able to see the number of leaks actually drop. And then we have finally started catching up this week. We know and we understand how frustrating it is to see a leak running when citizens are being asked to conserve water. We promise that we hear you and we're getting to them as fast as we can. We currently still have 237 leaks remaining, and our main goal is to focus right now is to keep the water in the distribution system. You can help us by continuing to report new leaks to 311. And if you see a wooden stake in the ground with blue paint, it's already been marked, assessed, and it's in our queue, and it will be addressed by the amount of water it's putting out. We prioritize the bigger leaks first because they may have the greatest impact upon our system. The current number of major leaks we have right now is 11. The remaining number of minor leaks today is 226. Since August 1st, we have fixed 131 major leaks and 127 minor leaks in our system. You will also see some hydrants flushing because we're still doing what is required by TCEQ to maintain water quality and standards as part of necessary the disinfection process. We know they're on, and we're keeping them on as long as necessary for health and public safety. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. And next, we will hear from our city manager, Mr. Kenneth R. Williams.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank the press for being here today. We appreciate you coming out to assist us in getting this message out. But before I talk much, I want to recognize our city council members that's here. Of course, we have the mayor who's going to speak after me, who's here. But we also have our mayor pro tem here today, Councilmember A.J. Turner. We have Councilmember Mike Getz, Councilmember Randy Felshaw, Councilmember Chris Durio, and Councilmember Taylor Neal. So they're here today, too, at this press conference as we go through and have this discussion. I'm Kenneth Williams, been in city manager Beaumont, been here a relatively short time for a city manager, for sure. But I have about 35 years now of management and experience in city management. 17 years, 18 years as a city manager. Time passes quickly as a city manager. And also 9 years experience as a public works director and 9 years experience as an emergency management coordinator. And I just share that experience with you to say we have the experience to work with this situation. You know, Bart's here, he has experience as a public works director. So we have redundancy in this effort and what we're doing and what we'll be able to do, and we've done it with experience. 13 and a half of my years as a city manager was spent in an area of Central Texas that dealt with droughts constantly. You never got out of a drought stage, even in winter time. So it's just becomes a way of life, and that's what we're doing. But today, we're just here to provide you with information. We're here to provide the community with the information. We want to be able to talk with you, the press. We want to give you the opportunity to ask the questions you'd like to ask. We're here for you. Any questions you would ask of us today, we're at your disposal. Paige mentioned the transparency. We're here for that transparency, to have that discussion. This is a historic drought for us and for Beaumont. Right now, 76% of the state of Texas is under a drought stage. In Beaumont here, we're under the exceptional drought stage, which is the most severe drought stage you can have in a category. The governor of Texas in July declared a disaster for this drought. On August 22nd, 2023, Jefferson County was added in that declaration. So we're facing a serious event here, folks. This is not everyday things that are happening. You know, we're accustomed to hurricanes here, and we're accustomed to wet weather, but a drought is more of a silent killer. It's slowly interferes with your infrastructure and what you're doing here, basically. What I do want to tell you too today is your water's safe. Our water's safe to drink. We've had questions about that. Your water's safe to bathe in. So don't have any reservations about that. If we communicate anything to you today, we want you to know that the water here is safe. We've done some things with the nitrification, which is a disinfection process. And we converted to chlorine, which is another disinfection process. So what we're doing is disinfecting your water. Chlorine we typically use chloramines, which is ammonia and chlorine. But what we're doing is substituting is using more chlorine. Chlorine is the #1 use of disinfection of water systems in the country. So what we're doing is what most cities are doing in the country right now. So don't be alarmed. Chlorine smells a little bit, but it's a disinfectant for your system. We're pumping historic values in our system, and that's what's creating a lot of our problems. You know, we're pumping up over 44 million gallons of water a day. Typically this time of year, we pump about 29 to 30 million gallons a day. You can understand how that stresses your system. It's not so much that we don't have the volume of water. We have the volume of water. We have the nature's river. We have wells. But basically, your system cannot pump 24 hours a day under those type of stresses without something breaking. And that's what's happening with the leaks when pumping those volumes of water. So we just ask you to work with us and cooperate with us to know that your water is safe and what we're doing. We need you to communicate that to everyone and your neighbors. And we just need to pull together as a community. No matter what else we're doing here, this is an effort much like you do during a hurricane. This is an effort that probably won't go away anytime soon. So we need to work together and cooperate as a community if I ask you to do anything today as we work going forward with this. We're going to continue to do education. We're going to educate the public about this. We're going to ask people to conserve water. We need them to continue to conserve water. But if it doesn't happen voluntarily, we are doing some things. We are monitoring neighborhoods for people who are pumping water and shouldn't be outside of the stage 3 as we speak. Right now, we're just issuing warnings. After that, it will come to issuing tickets and fines if the drought doesn't get better. So we hope it doesn't get there. So again, this is a natural disaster. It's not something that's created by the city of Beaumont. We're reacting to a natural disaster. Crews have been working 24 hours, not 24, but constantly, 7 days a week, 7 days a week, working on these issues to get things done. So I just ask you, let's pull together, let's get through this event, and let's become a greater city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. And now we will have a few words from our mayor, Mr. Roy West.
Thank you all for being here. I want to express my gratitude to all of those who've already taken the steps to conserve water and support your neighbors during this challenging time. Your efforts don't go unnoticed, and they serve as a testament to the strength and resiliency of this community. We have weathered many storms in the past. This is different for it. Despite the frustrations of this drought and the extreme high temperatures, we're showing people that Beaumont can rally together, and we can certainly overcome these challenges. I certainly want to thank the media for being here today and for their ongoing efforts to keep the residents informed about what's going on with our water. And with social media, I know there's a lot of sources, so please use trusted sources as you're able to get correct information. I want to thank our city employees for the many long hours that they're working in this heat. As we sit here in air condition, they're out there 7 days a week dealing with this high heat and doing hard work. And we're certainly taking lessons from all that we're learning for the future. Today, I am making a disaster declaration. We're taking this action for the well-being of the community to enable the city to receive any and all aid and financial assistance available to the city from federal or state government. And after reading this, Paige will come up here and ask for questions for all of us that you may have. You know, July 8th, the governor issued a state of a disaster proclamation. On August 14th, we went into stage 2. And now, after several weeks of continued lack of rain and excessive heat, the city of Beaumont has increased to Drought 3, as been said. Because of the severe water leaks and the increased demand, and because of the threats that we're experiencing to our infrastructure and the costs that we've already we've determined because we need to take extraordinary measures to protect the public. And as a result of that, we are proclaiming a local state of disaster that is hereby declared in the city of Beaumont pursuant to 418.018A of the Texas Government Code. We'll be providing this, and this order goes into effect today. In addition, I want to invite all our residents to gather outside of City Hall on Wednesday, September 13th at 10 a.m. to pray for rain, to end this drought, and also to pray for the strength and the grace to deal with whatever comes next, weather-related or otherwise. I thank you, and God bless you all.
Right. Thank you, Mayor West. At this time, we will start with media questions. We have a microphone that will be passed around. Just raise your hand, and we will bring it to you, and then the most appropriate person will answer your questions. Does anybody have any?
Hi, Kayla Chote, 12 News. My question for you all, whoever can answer for me today, is just going to be, you told us a little bit as to why we decided to, declare a local state of disaster here in Beaumont. Can you maybe just go into a little bit more detail as to why we've decided to go towards this measure, and if this is the first time the city of Beaumont has declared a local state of disaster due to drought?
A declaration is pretty common during emergency event or disaster event. I've only been here a year, but I would be willing to say that Beaumont probably has during some of the hurricane events declared disasters. As the mayor said, it puts you in line to be reimbursed or to receive assistance from the state of Texas, resources from the federal government, et cetera. And basically, it also just let the citizens know what's going on within the city. Good.
Good morning, Maya Caleb, 6 News. I know that, Mike Harris, you mentioned that y'all sent out another emergency contract to try to get some help. So I know that the first time that y'all did that, y'all only had one contractor respond out of, I think, the 4 that y'all contacted. So what happens if y'all don't get any more emergency contract help?
Maya, with the first contract, the second contract, we've changed a few things in it, hoping to get some more interest on local contractors. We've also do have in place for a third emergency contract, provided we don't get the bidders for this contract, we could also put it in place for a third emergency contract.
Are y'all allowed to say what things were changed between the first and the second one?
We just took some things out to make it more friendlier for the contractor to help them, where smaller contractors would be able to bid on the projects instead of just leaving it to the large contractors,
And I
and
know-
maybe even plumbing companies.
If you want, I'll jump in. Sure. The engineers actually modified the contract. So to be clear, the first contract, when it got put out, was all-inclusive to include repairing the roadway surfaces after, if it was within a road. And so what we've done on this one is we've removed all of the finish work. We'll do that within streets and drainage, so we'll repair it afterward like we do for regular water crew repairs. And then the other thing we did was we broke up by size of line. So if there's a smaller contractor that does not want to deal with, say, 12-inch line sizes, but they're willing to do 6-inch and under, they can respond for the size lines that they're comfortable doing. And so by doing this, we hope to bring in more resources for contractors that can handle smaller amounts of work.
And one last thing, I know that
Yes.
y'all said that y'all's main focus is just making sure that these leaks get repaired, but I do remember hearing that the age of some of these pipes is causing some problems as well. Will those pipes get replaced?
Well, as part of the repair, that section of pipe is going to get replaced, but we also have CIP items in. I know the orange water main line is scheduled in this coming fiscal year to get replaced. And in future fiscal years, we're ramping up the amount of money that we're putting towards water line replacement.
Thank you.
Right. Just to add to that, we have a community improvement plan, which is our CIP, which identifies infrastructure projects. The city is planning far into the future and making sure that we have an adequate water system. In our 5-year CIP plan, there's approximately $310 million of projects identified in that plan over the next 5 years to improve and maintain the Beaumont's water system. So City Council has done well in planning for the future. Staff has done well in identifying those things. So we are prepared and we are looking into the future to lessen these type of events.
Courtney Pedersen, the Beaumont Enterprise. It was previously said the city started seeing nitrification at the beginning of August. Why did the city start the free chlorine conversion on August 22nd? Was it an order from the TCEQ?
No, we weren't ordered to do it. Well, the reason why we converted when we did was because normally when you start seeing chlorine residual drops, you'll respond by flushing. And so you flush out the lower chlorine levels within that area of the system, and then you can recover. The reason why we moved to free chlorine was because we were unable at a certain point in time to really effectively address the nitrification, and through testing we found that it had increased to the level that it required it. So this is a normal process that TCEQ recommends, and it's the only way really to address nitrification once it gets to that level.
And when was the last time the city had seen nitrification before now?
When was the last time we saw it, or when was the last time we did a free chlorine conversion?
Both.
Okay. You always see some levels of nitrification. It's normal within a chloraminated treatment system. However, the last time we did a free chlorine conversion was in 2021.
And was the reaction to the water the same as it is now?
The main problem we had in the chlorine conversion in 21 was discolored water. That was the main complaint at that time.
And why, I guess, why is there the difference now with like the taste of water?
With the taste,
And the smell and the odor, like the different complaints now?
different people react to the taste in different ways. That I think one of the reasons may be that we're not having as much discolored water as we did the last time. So that kind of outweighed everything last time we did it.
Okay, thank you.
Megan Zapalak, Beaumont Enterprise. The city of Beaumont received 35 violations from the TCEQ, the majority of which remain active. Can you speak to these and what's being done to resolve them?
So the TCQ performed a comprehensive compliance investigation of the water system in July of 2023. These are scheduled investigations that occur approximately every 3 years. Items within the summary investigation findings include alleged violations, potential violations, record reviews, and additional issues, along with 3 items that weren't classified as to the type. The city has resolved 29 of the 65 was actually in the report. We fully expect all the remaining items to be resolved within 6 to 9 months. The reason for the longer time frame is some of the items will require construction. The only item in the list that's related to either drought or the free chlorine conversion is a note that we were failing to maintain a chlorine residual of 0.5 milligrams per liter throughout the distribution system at all times. We were aware of the struggle to maintain residuals at that time, and that's why we converted to free chlorine to address the nitrification.
Any more questions?
Kayla Shote, 12 News. I did kind of want to dive a little deeper again into the state resources. Can you just go ahead and maybe talk about maybe some of the resources that we would like, the city of Beaumont would like to get from the state, whether that be maybe more workers coming in to help, or that be financial resources? Can we just dive a little deeper into some of the resources we're going to be looking for?
Yes, we've had communications. We put in calls to our state representatives, Kristen Emanuel, and also Speaker of the House, Dave Phelan. We had conversations with Speaker Phelan's Chief of Staff, Mr. Mishawk, and he was very helpful in pointing us toward some things with state resources. You know, he talked about USDA grants, which we could possibly get out there. Talked about things with the Texas Water Development Board. I also talked about TDM, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, which could come in and assist us with things, even to the point of providing water if we need it, like that. But basically, you know, it's state resources, federal resources, and that's why the mayor did the declaration. A city has to declare a declaration. The state, the governor did it, and the city does it, and it puts us in line for those resources. Also, contractors. They were able to talk to us about possible sources of contractors. That was the Texas Rural Water Group that could maybe help us with contractors and things like that. And we got some information on them. Wanted to supply us with some contractors, but we think we'll be able to do it ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Danielle Sutton with 409 Family. For just regular, everyday citizens, I saw that we appreciate that we can contact 311 and know ways that we can help and better work together throughout this state of emergency. But can we also know, I understand that we can call 311, we can have the lines flushed. Is there anything else that will happen or be expected to happen? I know every situation can be different, but is there like a timeline or a regular way that y'all do things that a citizen can expect if flushing the system isn't working for them?
So, I'm sorry, to be sure I understand what you're saying. So if you're saying that somebody's calling in with an issue and we flushed and it's not addressed their problem, what do we do next?
Yes.
You want to take it?
Yeah. I didn't understand the question. Yeah, if, you know, if the citizens having issues, color, taste, odor, and they call 311. Well, like I said, we'll send someone out to flush. Now, like I said, the main goal that we're trying to do is keep as much water within the distribution system. So we're really flushing at a minimal. 6 months ago, 8 months ago, we would flush, and we would flush for hours on end, to get the system clear, to get the fresh water in. Now we're just flushing, like I said, at a very minimal, till we can tell a difference at the hydrant. We ask citizens, if you do have a water quality issue, call, we'll come flush. After we flush, run your water in your house for just a minute or two. It'll clear the lines out in your house. If you still continue to have an issue, call us back at 311. We'll come out again and flush again. It may take, because we're flushing at such a minimal, it may take 2 or 3 flushes for us to get it cleared up. But like I said, yeah, please keep calling, and we'll come out and keep addressing it.
What's the state on the water pressure at the South Tower? Because I know I spoke with Bart earlier this week about how y'all were trying to get the water pressure up to 50 PSI.
We're still up in the high 40s at the South Tower, but we were able to gain ground, and as of this morning, we had about 1.2 feet actually inside the bowl at the South Tower. So day by day, we're gaining progress in that area of town.
Do y'all think that y'all will get back to the level that y'all need to be at by sometime next week?
It all depends on keeping up with the leaks. Mike's crews over the last 2 days have done a larger number of leak repairs, and we've seen the progress of that. So assuming we don't have major blowouts, assuming there's not some other event like a major structure fire, that we're seeing continued progress, and we're continuing to work towards that.
Why didn't the flushing work to resolve the nitrification this time, and how close were we to being out of compliance as far as water quality before the city undertook this process?
Once you have, and you can go to TCQ's site and read up, they've got a volume of information on this, but once you have nitrification in the system and it grows to a certain level, you're just not going to get out of it by flushing. Once it's at that level, there's no other way at that point than to address it with the free chlorine conversion. At no time were we at a level where we needed to call for a boil water. That's why we proactively test within the system, and that's why we called for the free chlorine conversion. And that's why we continue to do everything we can to keep pressures up in the system. All of these efforts are to keep the water safe and to keep us out of a boil water notice.
All right. Are there any more questions? Okay. All right. I'm now going to go through some questions that were submitted by our media partners online, and then the appropriate person will come up and answer as well. All right, the first one. What is the City of Beaumont's total pumping capacity, and where are we at now, and where have we been in the past few days?
So we have a chart up here, and we have handouts in the back that shows our pumping rates in millions of gallons per day. Once we get up into the mid to high 40s, currently we're tapping out on how much we can pump into the system. That doesn't mean we don't have water, as in water in the river, water in the wells necessarily, but you start out pumping your treatment process, your water reserves, and so we can do that for a short period of time, but we can't do it for longer periods of time. So that's why we called for the stage 3 drought restrictions. That's why we're making such an effort to repair the water lines, because we cannot pump at those mid to high 40 levels long term. And it's important to realize that at any point in time, we could have some large demand on the system that we don't know about right now. That could be a large water main blowout like we had over the weekend, or it could be a large structure fire or several large structure fires. And we strive to try to maintain reserve capacity in the system to be able to accommodate those types of demands. If we can't accommodate them, then we would be in boil water notice because we couldn't maintain system pressures. And you've seen that, unfortunately, in some surrounding jurisdictions that have smaller systems and not as much reserve capacity as what we have.
Has the third Lawson pump been fixed, and is it back in service?
Short answer is yes. All three Lawson's pumps are back in service and have been for, I think, a couple weeks now. So.
Short and sweet, I like it. Residents have recently been talking about 35 violations on the TCEQ website regarding the City of Beaumont's water system. Can someone speak to those? Okay, figured, yeah. The city is currently undertaking a study of the water system to help plan future improvements. What are the actual issues with the system as it stands?
We're actually continuing to address different issues in the system. So some of the current efforts that are going on, we're doing a long-term study of the water supply at Loeb and hope to have the results of that back. And what the purpose of that study is to determine whether we're going to continue to invest long-term in Loeb groundwater or look for a surface water treatment plant on the west end. So we have that study in play. We also have a number of large construction projects going on for system improvements. The biggest is the Collier's Ferry raw water pump station. If you go to Collier's Ferry Park and you look to your right when you go into the park, you'll see that construction underway. That will allow us to pump 45 million gallons a day off of the river in raw water capacity, and it will give us a pump station that will be above what the flood levels were during Harvey. So we're continuing to make investments year after year to improve the system.
Can you talk through the science on a basic level of how chloramine works and how chlorine can be used for a short time without causing too many byproducts?
I'm going to talk at a high level because I'm not a chemist. I have to bring my lab guy up for that. So chloramines, which is the normal treatment that we have within the Beaumont system, is a blend of chlorine and ammonia. Now, the reason we treat with chloramines is because we have a surface water source. So our main water source is off the Neches River. If you treat surface water naturally has organics within the water. So way in the past, we used only free chlorine. And then the EPA and TCEQ came along and they looked at the disinfectant byproducts of using free chlorine all the time in systems with organics, high levels of organics in the water. And they set regulated levels of disinfectant byproducts that you had to be under. And you cannot meet those in a surface water treatment plant without going to something like chloramines. So that's why we use chloramines on a normal basis. However, chloramines do have some detrimental effects like nitrification that can happen over time. And that's why TCEQ recommends that if you get into high levels of nitrification, you switch temporarily to free chlorine. They also make recommendations that you do so on a periodic basis once a year, which we've not done to this point, but we're looking at potentially doing in the future.
Thank you. Here's a general one. What can citizens do to support our city water department?
Sure. One of the main things we look at water utilities, the way the citizens can really help us and support us is by the conservation of water. Like I said, our main goal is to keep the water in the distribution system. Also reporting leaks to 311 or the 311 app. There's a number of leaks out there that, we rely on the citizens to report. That's the way we know where the leaks are. So the citizens will continue to report the leaks through the 311 app or 311. We can go out, assess the situation, assess the leak, and get it on a repair schedule to help close the system up.
All right. And that is it for the submitted questions. Does anybody have any additional questions? No? Perfect. Well, I want to thank you all for tuning in, both online and in person. At this time, I will excuse our guests. Okay, good. I'll bring you guys the stuff too.
I'll just leave that.
I'll bring it. All right. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. I ask that you please sign in on the sign-in sheet on the back and also take all of the resources that we have available for you, and have a great rest of your day.